you do have a computer science master's from Harvard, and you spent 7 years as a senior application technologist at Bridgewater. So, that's what I mean by like technically minded. I don't necessarily mean pushing production code, but you have awareness of these kinds of things, no doubt, in these kinds of big strategic technology decisions that get made in your company. So speaking of that journey a little bit, what caused you to make that jump? Because if I am reading this correctly, and I'm just going off your LinkedIn profile, so you and you know more than me, but it looks like from there that you went from doing undergrad at Harvard in computer science, master's at Harvard in computer science, right into working at Bridgewater Associates for that 7 years and working as a technologist there. And then looks like about a year after leaving Bridgewater, you co-founded Domino Data Labs and have been CEO of that company since, which is coming on a dozen years now. And so that could be, if if that information is kind of complete information, that is making that kind of big leap from employee, safe W-2 employee at a super successful, globally renowned brand, and then making that jump to co-founding a company, you couldn't have expected that you'd have the success that you would have. There's always that hope as a founder, but you're in the top percentile kind of thing of tech co-founders and the success that you've had. So what drove you in that initial instance to make that big leap? And was it scary, or has it always kind of felt just like the right thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself back in the headspace I was in back then. Well, so what drove me initially was really two things, and one was more extrinsic, and one was more intrinsic. The extrinsic one is I mean, it's so cliche, but I wanted to feel like I was having a bigger impact on the world, rather than sort of being at one company and helping that company. I really wanted to do something that I felt would help more organizations with sort of more at a bigger scale. Um, and and the second thing, which is a little more internal, was I I need to feel like I'm constantly learning and growing and improving. And if I don't feel like that, if I don't, there's people talk about being in like the stretch zone. This feeling of like you're you're almost drowning, but you just got your head above water, but then you finally figure it out, and then you're on to sort of the next challenge. I needed to feel that, and I got to a point where I felt like I was my own kind of personal growth was stagnating a little bit, and in retrospect, yeah, I think it was scary to make the leap, and as a result of being scared to make the leap, I probably waited a little longer than I should have. Like I probably put off making the leap for I don't know, maybe a year after I like really knew I wanted to do it. Um, but what sort of finally pushed me to do it was this fear of future regret. Like like all human beings, I sort of like felt myself getting older. As I was getting older, I felt myself getting more risk averse, not less. And so I had this moment of projecting my life like 10 years forward and thinking, well, gosh, if I didn't make a change now, I might end up in a situation where I was so comfortable and so used to what I would been doing that I would have just been stuck there forever. So that was sort of the moment where I was like, okay, well, there's never going to be a better time to do something different or try something different. And Yeah, I mean, in the early days, I have two co-founders, and we'd all work together at Bridgewater, and um, like you said, we didn't we didn't know how at the time how big what we were doing was going to be. We were just very focused on making product that data scientists would love to use, and that was our North Star. And so we spent a ton of time sitting with data scientists, working with them, and we were just we were focused on what's going to make your life better, and that guided how we iterated on the product in the early days. And And then I think we got somewhat lucky with the timing of like how data science took off, and then how it turned into ML, and now of course AI. So always a
Nice.
bit of
Yeah.
luck.
Congrats. Do you have one tip for our listeners on how they might be able to recapitulate the kind of success you've had? If they're looking to create their own startup or maybe recently have, what can they do to try to have the kind of tremendous success that Domino's had?
Well, I think it's cliche. I'm certainly not the only one to say this, but for me, it really is about just focus on customers, focus on creating value for the customer. If you put the customer first, then the rest, the good stuff will follow.
It is a cliche, but a valuable one. The other one that I thought you might go for once you started saying that sentence was it's all about building the right team.
That happens next in my experience. Yeah, that's the next phase.